So I have just a few updates, and Marcia's going to help me with this because we're going to talk about some of the grants that we have currently. And let me get my PowerPoint going here. I just have just a few slides just to kind of summarize for you what's going on with COPE. Because I think I might have mentioned this before. I think that I know that for myself, I'm so in this work that I don't know what you know and what you don't know. So I think that doing these little reports for you guys is a good way for me to compile the information and get it to you visually and verbally, hopefully in a way that's of interest to you, and that you find that you're getting the information that you need. But we also want to know, I mean, if I'm missing something that you wish you knew about what we were up to, I certainly want to hear. So let me go ahead. All right. See if this works. There we go. All right. Oops. Let me start at the beginning, shall I? All right, I'm going to get there. There we go. All right. So I don't know if you all know that we're a fire safe council. Did you know that? I just want to make sure that you know, because
No.
we don't talk about it very much. So I just wanted to let you know that one of the reasons why we got the California Fire Safe Council designation was help us get funding and have access to some of the state money that was available. And as you know, we expanded our board of directors by 3. This meant that we changed our bylaws to include a larger board, going from 7 to 9. So again, welcome. And here are all of our board members. I think you're familiar with all of these faces. And oh, just one other thing about that. Be sure and go to the website if you want to dig in and kind of understand people's backgrounds. Be sure to go to the website. It's on the About page. You'll see the bios for everybody. You all, I think, got an updated map of all of the different COPE groups in the area, some in progress and some well established. And we were really glad to hear from a number of you who felt like you were no longer in progress, but you were established. And for me, that was a wake-up call about how I don't know much about what you guys are up to out there. So we need to know more about what you guys are up to and know that you're not in progress anymore, or that you are in progress and you need some help. So just wanted to say that. Be sure and let me know how we can support you with the best way. And we also have our new website that has, as you can see up here at the top, the leaders tab. And this is what that page looks like from our last in-person meeting. But as you scroll down, you'll see resources and documents that you can download. And that, Diana and I will be working on that and updating it. We actually are doing some updates to the website right now. So you'll see that grow and evolve. And we want to know from you, what is it that you want on that site? What's helpful to you? Let us know, because we want this to be your site. We also have the YouTube channel that Diana talked about, all the work that she's done posting videos to that site. This is a screenshot from a few days ago of our playlist. So you'll see again, there is a playlist for our leadership meetings. So you can go there to see meetings that you may have missed. And then of course we have our Facebook page, and I noticed some nice comments from Dan about how Diana has increased that content on that page. She and I have both been posting there, and so you're going to see more and more content on that page. But again, we want to know from you what's helpful. What would you like to see? We are also on the search for our community outreach specialist. So this will be the executive director position, 50% with Hope, and the other 15% with Geyserville Volunteer Firefighters Association and the district, Northern Sonoma County Fire Protection District, to do outreach primarily, but also assist with administrative tasks like for COPE, it will be helping administer grants, doing reports, keeping track of our budget, those kinds of support activities, supporting our fundraising committee. And a lot of the work for Geyserville will be around supporting their fundraising work as well. So you don't have to be a fundraiser, you just need to be able to be on the back end and helping connect with donors and making sure that they're making their as they make their contributions, that is the bookkeeping part of that is done, and those connections are made. That kind of outreach of connecting with the community is really an important part of this position. So this job is posted on the fire district's website, so please send people there. We've also posted it on our Facebook page, and we'll continue to do that. And help us get the word out. We really are looking for someone to start as soon as possible. So just wanted to share with you that the fuels crew had completed the work on defensible space. I just did a report for our funder, the Center for Disaster Philanthropy. And this is one of the slides that I had from that presentation that I'm making for them around the work that was done. And you'll notice this is a quote from somebody who received the work. They just really appreciated how the fuels crew worked with them, and the work that they did, but the people that they are and how they interact with the community. I thought that was a lovely quote. And just a couple of pictures, kind of before and after pictures of different work that was done as a part of that grant. So this is the $25,000 that we had to do defensible space work. And this is West Side Road and the work that was done there. Amazing, huh? The other work, and I'll let Marshall tag on in just a moment here, are the 3 fuels management grants that we have. The last one is from 2021, which was an Egg and Egg open space grant. That one is almost completed. That covered 3 different areas: Palmer Creek Road, Daniels Ridge, and McLeod Ridge. And that the last part is just being completed, hopefully in the next couple of months. So that one's almost wrapped up. And then we were awarded a new Ag and Open Space grant this year, which is in the area of South Brack and Big Ridge. That's another shaded field break, and I'll let Marshall talk about that in just one moment. And then the second one is the CAL FIRE grant that we have. It's for 3 different COPE communities. So that covers Toyon, Fitch Mountain, and Soda Rock. And this is roadside vegetation clearing. Marshall, do you want me to stop sharing for a moment and you go, or do you want to do it at the end? What's good?
Why don't you just finish out? I was just going to show some maps and talk about some, so I'm
Great.
good with finishing, and then I'll take the screen for a bit.
Okay, cool, thanks. So we also, as you know, got money for capacity building, and that's the money in 2021. That was the money that went towards that defensible space grant that I just talked about and showed pictures of. It also has been really helpful in paying for support for grant writing. And we have $38,000 left on that. That is going towards developing a fundraising plan, again, grant support, helping us onboard. Oh, so much for my spelling, huh? ED onboarding, website development, and we're more website updates, continuing that work on our new website, and also branding. So we're going to be branding our materials, our PowerPoint presentations, our letterhead, all of that good stuff. We have somebody who's really good at that. So we're doing that work. And then, as you hopefully know, 2022, we received $80,000 to support our ED coming on board. So we have $40,000 for 2 years that will go to the district to help pay for our half of that position. Future grant opportunities that we're looking at, just want you to be aware of these opportunities. And again, give us input on how you'd like to see us writing these grants. First is, you all hopefully got a chance to meet Shannon, who was at our meeting, I want to say 3 months ago, to talk about FACnet. So oh my God, what's it called? Nope, the Fire Adapted Communities Network. There we go. They are great support for the work that we're doing, and it looks like we are in line for a $20,000 grant from them. So I'm thinking that might go towards our outreach work. We are also, as was mentioned earlier in the meeting, there's a community wildfire defense grant that is being offered by the United States Forest Service. And so we are looking at that grant as well. And hope to develop that in conjunction with some partners in the community, because I think everybody's trying to write for this grant, and I hope that we can figure out a way to make that palatable for the government in a way that we can all get funding and make this work best for all of us. So we do want to know what is it that you want us to seek funding for. So we'll have a discussion when we're done here in just a minute about that. This was mentioned earlier as well, that there is a Healdsburg Fire and Earthquake Safety Expo on May 6th. Just want to make sure you get that on your calendar. We have a board retreat this Friday that'll be us getting to know each other, but working primarily on strategic planning and looking at what are the things that we want to accomplish over the next year. So again, we're looking for input from you, because our work is all about you and supporting the work that you do. And finally, the Rotary Club of Healdsburg is presenting a film that looks fantastic. If you have a chance to go, please do. If you're comfortable being inside, it's at the Raven Theater. It's called Embers of Awakening. And it's largely about the Tubbs fire. So just to let you know, for those of you that have been affected by the fires, it could be triggering something to think about. But it's narrated by Peter Coyote. So if you are as in love with his voice as I am, and really appreciate the way that he presents the material, I think that you'll enjoy that film. Finally, Diane and I are very interested in possibly having some kind of a book club. And there is a book that I am just a couple minutes from finishing. I've listened to most of my books. It's called Disasterology, and it's written by a woman who has a PhD in emergency management. And I would strongly recommend that you read this book, even if we don't do a book club, because it's pretty interesting about her perspective on disasters and how prepared we are and what we can do to be better prepared. And then finally, there's a book that Diane came across called Building Resilience. And it is another researcher who studied various communities after disasters, and I think during disasters, and really learned that it was neighbor helping neighbor that really showed how these communities could be resilient, that it was really having those community connections that made a difference. And so those are a couple of books, and I'd love to know if you are interested in having a book club. Anybody want to raise a hand if you're interested? I'd love that. And I'll look at that in just a minute. And then how can we, again, we want input from you. We'd love to have you participate in our committees. I think that next month we'll really come back with some tangible ways that you can be involved. We want you to take pictures at your events and send them to us. I know you all are having annual meetings right now. Please send them to us, pictures of those meetings. What's going on in your area? I learned in putting out the map that somebody was a Firewise community that I didn't know about. So there's all kinds of things going out there that you guys are doing that I'd love to know about and be able to brag about and share with the group. Those are really important. Be sure and like us on Facebook, check out our YouTube, and let us know again, how can we help you? How can we as an organization support you? So that is me stopping my sharing. And so I'm only seeing a couple of raised hands. I'm thinking that maybe a book club is not terribly interesting to a lot of people. Am I right? Where are you guys at? I don't see a lot of raised hands. I see Moni. And of course, Pat Abercrombie, who's a reader. Linda Collister, maybe. Yeah. All right.
I also have a question, if it's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Priscilla. And please forgive me if I'm asking something very obvious. I've been away for a few months on leave. Do we, by any chance, have a shared calendar or where I can see these and other upcoming events? This sounds like a brilliant list, and I did not manage to screenshot all of them.
Yeah, so that is something we want to do, Moni. We are, I think I mentioned this to you, that we have Google Workspace and we're still getting that hooked up. But my hope is that that calendar will then be connected to our website. And then you can look at all of our calendared events there.
That sounds brilliant. And thank you for sharing that. We also have activated Google Suite for the Mill Creek one. And once you have a calendar, if you share a public version of it, I think we should definitely get it update it to ours and share it as well. So thank you so much for that.
Sure. Thanks, Moni. And no question is not a good question. So please ask the questions, because as I said earlier, I oftentimes just assume you guys know stuff. And I need to know differently. So please speak up. Thank you. All right. So I'll turn it over to you, Marshall.
I think I'm sharing my screen.
You are.
It's the map, right, of the grant.
Yes. This
Okay.
is the CAL FIRE grant. Yes.
Yeah, so I was just going to review the grants, and kind of another way to take this presentation is that we know about these other grants that are coming online. There's obviously the outreach grants, there's educational grants, but if you're looking to do fuels reduction type work grants, this kind of some of the stuff that goes into it, which I've talked about before. So the reason we're successful at getting these types of grants is because, it's impossible for me to know every property owner, to reach out to every property owner. So really it's the leaders, neighborhood leaders, whatever it is, going door to door, kind of not necessarily selling the project, but explaining it and getting buy-in. And so that's how we've been very successful at getting grants. We have a CFPP, and then we've got community champions, community leaders versus a fire department trying to push down a project on a community. So this is the one and only so far, hopefully the first of many, CAL FIRE grant that the COPE Northern Sonoma County obtained. And so this shows the project area in pink and the specific roads that are shown in green. This is all how CAL FIRE wants the map to look when you submit it. So this is specifically then what roads we're going to do, what's called roadside clearance along, not clear cutting, but the shaded fuel breakage treatment to support evacuation and firefighter access. And most fires start where people are at, which tends to be along roads and around homes. So you can see there it's West Soda Rock, Old Barn Road. So that's a mixture of county road and a private road. So that involved working with the county of Sonoma. Something to think about if you're going to work on a county road. Don't even ask them about working on a state road. It's a whole nother level. which I'm getting very aware of. But the county, we have a great partner in Johannes, who's in charge of TPW and also general services, and also some of the road supervisors who actually live in our communities that have been very supportive. So we're not getting charged as a fire district doing the work, charged for traffic control and things that other private entity may get charged with, so we can keep our costs down and focus on the actual vegetation management work. So if you're involved in a county road, that's a piece of it. Private roads are a little good and bad, a little easier in some ways because it's they're owned by private or maybe a road association. That's Old Barn Road. And also West Soda Rock at the very end there, the private portion. Then on Fitz Mountain, it tends to be on the south side of Fitz Mountain. We're looking at Madrone Road all the way through, and also McDonough Heights to the city limits. I don't think Lance was on the call, but to the city limits. So not going that gray area there is the Pilgrim city limits. And then we're doing Toyon Drive and also a little spur road off there at the bottom. It's hard to see with Buckeye Trail Road. So that's the CAL FIRE grant. So if you're looking at doing a fuels type grant, roadside, working along a road is kind of a low hanging fruit. We also do want to do strategic fuel breaks. Usually those are on ridges. None of these fuel breaks are clear cuts or anything, in a burned area, it's a little bit different because so much of this material is vegetation is dead, but we're not looking to do clear cuts. We're actually looking to replicate what a fire would have historically done, a low intensity type wildfire. So that's the CAL FIRE grant. I'll just pause, Priscilla, if you want to add anything, or if anybody has any questions about how this came about. But one thing I didn't say is this is three different communities, three different communities that both Northern Sonoma County stitched together under one application. So about, I believe, $400,000 for these three projects, these three neighborhoods. So, when we put in for these types of grants, we want to make sure we're going to be successful and deliver. So that's all that homework ahead of time. You have anything, Priscilla, you want to add?
Yeah, I would just say, this came about because conversations we had last fall. Remember, Marshall, we invited Coke communities to let us know if they needed vegetation management work done in their areas. And as a result, those three communities came together and said, yeah, we're ready to do this work and this is what we need. And that's what we want to keep doing. So be thinking about that as you go back to your communities. If you need that work, we want to support you in doing that. So.
So that grant I'd shown you was a CAL FIRE funded grant. So usually the little more higher you go up in, whether it's county, state, or federal, there's a little bit more requirements, a little more stress, if you will. So the CAL FIRE grant, I think the contract was just signed by the board. We're still waiting on everything getting turned around. So it just adds a little bit of complexity. These two next projects I'm going to talk about are funded by the County of Sonoma from the PG&E settlement funds. And if these are easier to apply for, in my opinion, you can actually get face-to-face with the people you're working with, such as Ken Batchelder from Ag and Open Space. They're usually not big dollar amounts. Up to 400,000 is kind of around 400,000 is the maximum. Last year was really bad timing. It pretty much was right at Christmas when they opened up the grant periods. The county did get a bunch kind of beat up about, hey, you're ruining our holiday season having to apply for grants. I would actually agree. But this is something where let's not wait till Christmas or whenever to work on this grant. Let's do it ahead of time. So that's why we were successful. This was out of 2021. This is in the Mill Creek community. This area, unfortunately, had been heavily devastated by the Walbridge fire. So most of this area you see there in the red color had been burned. Some of it really bad, like stand replacement type fire. Some of it had just been a nice surface ground, low intensity fire. And so this was utilizing roads, Palmer Creek Road there at the bottom, which is labeled coming up Mill Creek Road, Cloud Ridge Road. And these are all private roads. Only Mill Creek is a public road out there, and a portion of Wallace Creek. But Palmer Creek Road, Cloud Ridge Road, and Cloud Ridge at some points turns to a fire road at the top of a ridge. So that's why we chose it. It was strategic. And then And I'll leave it to, if you want to comment again here on the Daniels Ridge. We named it that. It's an unnamed ridge, but we named it that ridge because of the Daniels Schoolhouse, which also unfortunately burned in the Wallbridge fire. And that was picking a strategic location. So I'll just focus on Daniels because it doesn't follow a road. And we didn't want to create a road during this work. But this would be a spot now. And we're taking advantage of a fire that happened so that a future fire, we can use this location to have bulldozers go down and maybe not be as destructive where they push, 100 feet, 200 feet wide of bare dirt, create off a lot of erosion. This would be an area where an air tanker drop could be more effective as far as the retardant hitting the ground and that maybe not have to use as much retardant. This is just my biased opinion. I'd like to start doing larger scale type broadcast burn, prescribed burns, or a term kind of called fire management, not fire suppression. So right now there's a fire burning in Yosemite. It's more of a fire management. We're not sending tons of firefighters there and putting that. We're kind of letting the fire do its thing and monitoring. There's risk to that, and it's not going to work in every situation. But sometimes we're kind of forced to do that. Like in 2020, we just don't have enough firefighters. So there's multiple benefits to doing this type of work. Unfortunately, if we don't do this type of work ahead of time, we're forced to, whatever word you want to use, to do this type of work to save communities. And it's very destructive with bulldozers and pushing a bunch of stuff over. And we don't do the best job of cleaning it up. So this is the Mill Creek shaded fuel break network of fuel breaks using Palmer Creek Road, one way in, one way out, and dead end. So there's about 15 to 20 homes. Taking a ridge road, Cloud Ridge Road, to the Turnstile Fire Road, and then also working in an area, Daniels Ridge, to break this Mill Creek, the upper end of Mill Creek Road up into strategic compartments. You might also hear about a word called pods. All these things help in grant writing, and you can tie it into a strategic plan. And the CFPP is great, but there's other things going on at the state level and also at the national fire policy level that you can tie this stuff into. So this is another example of a fuel reduction project using strategic shady fuel breaks. Two of them being along ridges, one with the road, one without a road. Did you want to add anything there, Dan? And this is what we finished up in about 3 weeks.
Right. Yeah, I just say, we did a lot of work in the CWPP before the fire, identifying high priority areas. Unfortunately, the fire hit before we could do much, but we had all the pieces in place. We had the studies, the basic biology. We knew where the strategic corridors were for access. So having that already helped. And even though a lot of the thinning probably could be done a lot more efficiently and at lower cost after the fire than before the fire, because frankly, a lot of the biomass and the ground cover and the ladder fuel is consumed in most of those areas, but it's still a fire hazard and a risk with a lot of dead standing trees. So even after the fire, we're really working to prevent the next one. And as we all know, portions of the county can burn again. And this area protects not only the Mill Creek area, but everything west all the way to the, depending on the direction of the winds we get, could conceivably, there's very few places to stop a westward moving fire with some easterly winds, except for a few of these ridges and roads systems in the area. So that's why the area was chosen. It had a lot of regional significance.
Cool, thanks, Dan. Any questions on this project from anybody? The next one I'll show you is one where I hope you guys are you guys still seeing all the maps on the screen? I'm trying to.
Yes.
Yeah, we
This is the
are.
same project as we just talked about, same type of funding from the county of Sonoma. So this is when we took advantage of our Christmas holiday break last year to get an application in. This is once again, we had willing property owners that brought the project forward, so we had commitment that we could deliver. There's always dynamics, and there's dynamics that happen when the property owners here as far as becoming sick. But I'm pretty sure we're still gonna be able to get permission at some point. This project, was broken up into into segments for the purposes of completing projects. And so right now we've finished section 6 down here at the bottom, coming off Mill Creek Road. This is a different type of map. So you guys aren't seeing the topographic features, but you're seeing what's called LiDAR data. This is more or less a ridge coming off the South Big Ridge, also devastated in the Wallbridge fire, and using ranch roads, an old dozer line here from the Wallbridge fire to create a line of defense between the southern Dry Creek Valley, city of Hillsburg, and the Mill Creek community. So to keep a fire on one or the other side of this ridge. And it also provides a secondary egress for some of these folks too. So this over here is the West Dry Creek community, Brack Road, Pine Ridge, Jack Pine are behind this this text box here. But basically coming off Mill Creek Road, using private roads, driveways, vineyards, creating that shaded fuel break, limbing up trees, and following it off to time to Big Ridge. And Big Ridge Road had been treated by a previous grant the fire district obtained prior to Wall Bridge. So tying it into that, there's also been some logging up there. So just trying to give ourselves as firefighters just some tactical advantage before the emergency, promoting people getting out, reducing the intensity of fires so they are not as destructive, which helps with everything. So this is another grant that it'll be done by the end of calendar year 2023. But because of what the community connections and the property owner connections, we're able to communicate well with the property owners, meet them on site. We're not subcontracting stuff out to multiple different subcontractors and losing local control. And so everyone, ideally, our goal as Cook Board is that this turns out as a win-win for everybody, and that hopefully into the future, these property owners can hopefully do some part, contribute to help maintain it as well. So this is our current County of Sonoma funded grant project. So this is something that may be applicable in one of your communities, something maybe to look at, but another thing. I'm going to slide another map over. Can you guys see this bigger map?
Yes.
CAL FIRE logo. Okay. And I don't know if there's any questions on the previous grants or anything, because that's one we're coming up on. I only want to go another 5-8 minutes because I thought we were actually going to end early today for Celebrate, but we did it.
Marshall, just really
hot weather anyway.
Yeah, Marshall, just really.
I'll do it real quick.
No. There was a question, I'm sorry, there was a question about when the work on the CAL FIRE grant will start. We're talking winter, right? Because we haven't even gotten that completed. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, just
Agreement.
January the earliest.
Okay. Great, thanks.
Counties can move off our protection plan. We have some of our communities have smaller of our protection plan. I'm also on the Fire Safe Sonoma board, as is Jeff Peters. The model we're going to probably go to in the future in the County of Sonoma is there'll be a countywide COPP, and then each community will do a firewise. Really what we're looking at is we're really looking at taking information and identifying projects and mitigation measures versus having to, I hate to say this in a bad way, go through all the other stuff that's required in the COPP. If we can get communities together to do a self-assessment of their homes, their defensible space, addresses, water sources, whatever it may be, vegetation management, and then develop projects. So I think it's going to be a better way to do business in the future, and it's what the county of Marin's been doing historically. So prior to the various maps that are online is, in my mind, I started breaking up the county, and I call this the northeastern area of the county. So we've got Napa County, Calistoga on the lower, I think it's the lower right for everybody, maybe it's the lower left, sorry, it's lower something. And then you got Mendocino County up here to the top. And this whole area, going from Mendocino County above Colville, where we had the Pine Fire a couple of weeks ago, all the way down to Calistoga, and then you look at fires like the Valley Fire, the Kincaid Fire, the Pocket Fire, Wallbridge is over here. This is the big Kincaid. And this is only the last, 10 years this is where our threat seems to come from, these offshore wind events. And then I started coloring in some of the larger property owners, and just to see where we could maybe go out and try to start developing projects, and then divide this area up into planning parcels and planning blocks, if you will, like Ida Clayton Road to the county line, Ida Clayton Road to Bridge Ranch to Pine Flat to Geysers to Cloverdale Geysers to Pine Mountain to the county line. Is tie this into a big plan. So this takes a lot of work with residents, hope groups. It's a lot of work with the agencies to get them on board. But if we can develop this level of collaboration, put projects together, it's a tremendous amount of homework done ahead of time before going into the grant process. So I'll just wrap it up. Let's do our homework now. Let's talk to property owners who want to get grants together. Let's hold workshops. Maybe we can do leadership meetings or set aside some some work meetings to talk these things out. I can put you in contact with your fire officials. Not everything here is in the Northern Sonoma County Fire District. Not everything is CAL FIRE jurisdiction. So you need to think about involving other agencies as well. So anyway, that's all I have. Thank you, Priscilla. I'll stop sharing screen.
Thank you so much, Marshall. This map was really cool to see, and that you have some ideas based on fire history and knowing the area where, yeah, look at that. Some ideas there about our various, and there are a lot of Coke communities in those areas, right?
Yeah, and this is something, if you guys get a chance, I can send you a link to go to the County of Sonoma's Communal Protection Plan. We need to get our projects put in there and identified, so it's not like these aren't secret plans either. So we don't duplicate efforts in some of these areas. So I've tried to put everything that I have in there to get it ranked too.
Great, thank you.